Hey everybody, it's Mike Sherwood and welcome to my channel, Don't Waste Your Life. I remind you to be present, to be happy, and to be thankful. If you're new to the channel, I ask you to subscribe. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. In this video, I plan to go through how I journal. I've been journaling for the last probably 4 years, on and off, and it's frequent, infrequent, it just kind of depends. Honestly, I use it as a tool to really help myself when I'm stuck on different things, and I use it to help reflect. So it's been a very helpful habit for me to be able to use, and some of the most successful people in the world use journaling to help them organize their thoughts. In this case, there's 5 things that I use journaling for. The first one is reminding me what to be thankful for. The second is putting structure to my unorganized thoughts and to provide clarity. Number 3 is to help surface my true goals or ambitions, track things that I'm trying to improve upon over time, and tracking just how much I improved over time. So sometimes just reflecting back on those journal entries and then writing a journal about those journal entries, it just helps you realize just how far you've come. In this video, I plan to walk through probably 4 or 5 different use cases that I've used journaling for. And I'm hoping it's helpful for you to see some real examples that I've used over time. So with that, let's jump into the journal entries. Here is the first example. So on 11/25/2022, I wrote this. I've been listening to this audiobook called Someday is Today. And the first chapter is titled The 100-Year Plan. And it was really a powerful chapter. And honestly, if I don't get anything else out of the rest of the book, I'm okay with that. This book, or that chapter, was very powerful. The reason why I found it so powerful is that it helped me to reframe the way I look at the present, and the way that I believe that we often forget is that our time is very finite, that we're only going to be on this earth for a certain amount of time, and that's it. The author uses the perspective of looking at things through the lens of, would my 100-year-old self be okay with what I'm doing? So if you're watching television, would your 100-year-old self that's just hoping to have more time to do something would be okay with you watching television? Or, focusing on your career rather than doing something that is helpful or that serves your family. For example, your kids are only going to be kids for so long. Eventually, they will become adults. They will go and have their own family. So, the understanding that those kids are only going to be around for a certain amount of time, that's where you should be spending your time, because you only get so many weekends with them. And I actually talked about that in a previous video. I forget how many weekends it is, but it's not a lot if you really add it up. And especially if you think about the teenage years, where they end up hating you in some cases. I will use another entry from October 2020. In this instance, I was looking at potentially changing my job because I was just stressed out and I really wasn't sure what to do. So here's what I wrote down. I struggle with managing to be a good husband, a dad, a Christian, and a community member, and I feel I'm not able to manage it all effectively. I feel them spread too thin. I feel I'm spending my time on things that are not as important. Here's some of the examples that I included here: building my career or seeking out the next level or the next platform, which many of you know is a hedonic treadmill. So it's just not ideal. 2, helping out others while not serving my family. 3, trying to do too many things rather than staying focused. 4, being wasteful with my time. I know it sounds crazy, but bear with me. This helped me come to the realization that I am enough and that I need to say no to a lot more things, which was something I said in a previous episode. When I was talking about the wasting of time, we all waste a lot of time. We all do. If you actually tracked it, and I actually did track it for a while, pre-Caleb, of course, to just see how much time I wasted, and it was very eye-opening. So I recommend, you try to look at where you can save some time from your social media habits or other things that you don't really need to do. So here's another entry that I put out maybe, I want to say it was maybe 6 months to a year ago. I started writing this, and I wrote a couple similar entries to this. So it was kind of a common theme that I was seeing. And here's what I said. I feel angry and frustrated with the way I'm treated, and the way a person would treat others and how they would behave sometimes. In these situations, I want to force people to do the right thing, but I can't. And I actually pasted this very useful image in there that I use as a guiding principle. And you'll see that up on the screen here that explains some of the things that you can focus on, you can control, and other things that you cannot, because there are a lot of things that you cannot control. I then wrote this part in my journal, which I find that this phrase and key activity is very helpful. If I had a friend that was in this situation, what would I recommend to them? What would I tell them? What advice would I give them? Often when you're in these kind of situations, you're actually living through it. It's very hard to be objective. So in this case, I basically depersonalized this for me and said, hey, another person's having this situation. What would I recommend to them? So my answer was to focus on what you can control and only that. Don't waste your time on talking about the other person's bad behavior, whatever they do. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it. You should just focus on, as Marcus Aurelius would say, waste no time on talking about what a good man should be. Just be one. Just be the example and that shining star, the beacon. That's all you got to do, because you can change your attitude very easily. You cannot change other people's attitude and the way that they show up. I think personally, this was a very hard pill to swallow because I like to see people do the right thing. And I just think I tend to be very principled. And when I saw this, I was very frustrated with it. But after about six to 9 months after this happened, or these kind of events kept happening, I got some feedback from somebody somebody that told my boss that said, hey, you're doing an amazing job. You're doing, a great, service to helping the teams. And, I got praise and kudos from it, which was nice because I was just trying to take the high road and do the right thing. And, sometimes that's all it takes. But honestly, if I was truly following the right and good example, I would also not let this go to my head. In closing, in a future video, I plan to go through how to get started journaling and give you some prompts for you to kind of walk through and be able to help you to start trying to do this. And again, I think the most important thing, and I'll give you a little bit of preview of this, is just to get started. So with that, take care, guys.